Whether you're a tech enthusiast, industry professional, or just curious about the future of AI Agents Unleashed will keep you informed and inspired. Buckle up and get ready to unleash the potential of AI.
Hey there, ready for a deep dive into what really drives machine learning research?
I'm ready.
All right, perfect. Well, for this deep dive, we've got a pretty fascinating paper presented at a recent AI conference.
Oh.
It analyzes 100 of the most cited machine learning papers.
Okay.
But here's the thing. It compares sets from 2008 and 2009 to 2018 and 2019.
Interesting.
So it's kind of like a 10-year time capsule, to see how the field's values have changed.
I see. So you're saying like it can reveal sort of the evolution of the field.
Exactly, yeah. Like what's considered important, what they prioritize in their research.
That's fascinating. It's kind of like we often hear about ethics in AI.
Right.
But this research sort of goes deeper.
Deeper.
It looks at the values like embedded in the research itself. The hidden, I guess you could say, forces that shape what gets studied and funded.
Right.
And ultimately the AI we build.
So we're going beyond the surface level. We're looking at the underlying motivations, the things that might not be explicitly stated but still influence the direction of the field.
You got it. Exactly.
Okay. So what did they find? What are these hidden values driving the research?
So they identified 6 dominant values consistently present in these highly cited ML research papers.
Okay.
And those are performance, generalization, building on past work, quantitative evidence, efficiency, and novelty.
Okay. 6 values. And honestly, they seem, I don't know, kind of standard for any scientific field. What makes them so significant in the context of machine learning?
I think the key here is how these values, seemingly neutral on the surface, can have really profound societal and political implications when applied to AI.
I see. So it's not just about the values themselves, it's how they're interpreted and implemented in the specific context of machine learning.
Yeah, precisely.
So that makes sense. So let's dive in.
Okay.
Let's take performance, for example. What does that mean in this context?
Well, in these papers, it mainly refers to how well a model performs against a specific metric, like accuracy on a benchmark data set.
Okay, that sounds reasonable enough, right? We want our AI to be accurate.
Yeah.
What's the potential downside here?
Well, think about something like facial recognition technology, for instance.
Okay.
If performance is solely measured by overall accuracy, we might overlook the fact that some models perform poorly on specific demographics, right?
Yeah.
And this can lead to misidentification and potential bias.
So a model could be celebrated for its high performance, but simultaneously perpetuating inequalities.
Yeah.
Because the chosen metric, doesn't capture the full picture of its impact.
Precisely, yeah. That's the danger. And it really highlights how, a seemingly neutral value like performance can have these complex and potentially really unintended consequences when applied to AI systems, that interact with the real world.
Absolutely. It's a great point. It reminds us that we need to be careful about how we define and measure success in AI.
Yeah.
Considering that broader social context,
Yeah.
Rather than just focusing on narrow technical metrics.
100%. And this applies to other values as well. Like, let's take generalization.
Right.
It refers to a model's ability to perform well across different data sets and tasks,
Right.
which again seems like a pretty desirable trait.
It does. I mean, we want AI that can adapt to different situations, not just excel in a narrow domain.
Right, true. But the question is generalization always the best approach?
Okay, interesting.
Consider a medical diagnosis AI.
Okay.
A model trained on a massive generalized data set might miss crucial nuances specific to, say, certain demographics or geographical locations.
Right.
A hyper-focused model, while less general, might actually yield better outcomes for a specific patient population.
So in some cases, tailoring AI to specific contexts might be more beneficial than striving for this broad generalization,
Exactly.
even if it means sacrificing some theoretical performance on benchmark datasets.
You got it. And there's another layer to this.
Okay.
Generalization often assumes that the future will resemble the past, which can be problematic when dealing with social data.
Oh, so?
Past biases baked into the data, right, could be perpetuated by the model, even if those biases are harmful or unfair.
So the very tools we're building to improve decision-making could inadvertently reinforce existing inequalities.
That's the concern.
Wow. It makes you wonder about the data these models are trained on and the assumptions built into their design.
Absolutely. And that's why it's crucial to examine these seemingly neutral values and really understand their potential implications.
This is fascinating. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, revealing the hidden complexities beneath these seemingly straightforward concepts.
Indeed. And we've only just begun to scratch the surface. There are 4 more values to explore.
Okay. I'm already eager to hear more. Let's maybe take a short break, and then we'll dive into the next set of values shaping the world of machine learning.
Sounds good.
All right, so we're back, and we're digging deeper into these 6 values shaping machine learning research. We've already talked about performance and generalization and how, even though they seem neutral, they can have some pretty complex implications.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's next on the list?
Let's look at building on past work.
Okay.
It's fundamental to research, but in machine learning, it can sometimes create sort of an echo chamber.
An echo chamber. How so? I mean, isn't it natural for researchers to build upon previous findings?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it is. But the problem is researchers often rely on the same data sets and methodologies.
Uh-huh.
Even if those data sets, have limitations or biases, it becomes a cycle of just reinforcing existing practices without really questioning, are they valid?
So it's like everyone's following the same well-worn path, even if that path might be leading in the wrong direction.
Exactly. And the paper actually found that very few researchers critically examine past work or challenge the status quo.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and this lack of scrutiny can really stifle innovation and limit the scope of inquiry in the field.
I can see that. Especially with, all the pressure to publish in academia.
Right.
It's a lot easier and safer to stick with, the established practices rather than rocking the boat.
Yeah, that's a valid point. The incentives in academia definitely play a role, yeah.
Yeah.
But, this uncritical reliance on past work can sometimes lead to a sort of intellectual tunnel vision,
Okay.
which, potentially hinders the exploration of new and potentially more impactful avenues of research.
Right. So it's a reminder that progress isn't always linear.
Right.
Sometimes we need to step back and question the foundations upon which we're building.
For sure.
Okay, so what about quantitative evidence? That seems like a pretty core principle of science.
It is, but even the emphasis on quantitative evidence can be a bit skewed. Yeah, so in machine learning, it often translates to, prioritizing benchmark performance on specific data sets,
Uh-huh.
which, is valuable,
Sure.
but this focus can come at the expense of other forms of evidence,
Like what?
like qualitative data or insights from social sciences.
So it's kind of like focusing solely on test scores to assess a student's overall potential, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You might miss out on their creativity, their critical thinking skills, or their emotional intelligence.
Exactly. Fixating on these quantitative benchmarks, it can lead to a narrow definition of success.
Right.
And then you overlook other crucial aspects of AI development, things like social impact or user experience.
It's a reminder that numbers don't always tell the whole story.
For sure.
We need kind of a more holistic approach to evaluate the true value and impact of AI.
Couldn't agree more. All right, so let's move on to efficiency.
Okay.
This value focuses on, optimizing resource use.
Okay.
Data, time, and processing power.
Okay. Well, at first glance, that seems like a universally positive goal. I mean, who wouldn't want their AI to be more efficient? Where's the potential pitfall?
I think the question is, efficient for whom? Does this drive towards efficiency always benefit everyone equally? Or does it favor, those with the most resources?
Ah, okay. So it's like the saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. But what if some boats are already bigger and better equipped to take advantage of that rising tide?
Exactly. The paper found that this pursuit of efficiency, it often leads to scaling up models to massive sizes,
Right.
which primarily benefits large tech companies and well-funded institutions.
Of course, because they have the vast computational resources.
Yeah, exactly.
So while efficiency in itself might be a neutral concept, the way it's pursued in the field of machine learning could actually exacerbate existing inequalities.
Yeah.
By further empowering, those who are already ahead.
Precisely, yeah. It kind of creates this bigger is better mentality, which might not always be, conducive to fostering a diverse and inclusive AI landscape.
That's a really crucial point to consider. And this focus on efficiency and scale, it makes me think of another aspect highlighted in the study, the growing influence of corporations in machine learning research.
Absolutely. Yeah, the study found this dramatic increase in corporate affiliations and funding in the most cited ML research papers.
Uh-huh.
By 2018-2019, over half had corporate ties,
Wow.
with a big tech presence tripling in those 10 years.
It's not entirely surprising, though, right? Considering the vast resources and potential applications AI offers to these companies.
Right.
But how does this tie into the values we've been discussing?
Well, I think it reinforces the idea that the values driving machine learning research are increasingly, intertwined with the interests of these large corporations.
Right.
And as we've seen with like performance, generalization, and efficiency, those interests may not always align with broader societal needs
Right.
or ethical considerations.
That's a really thought-provoking observation. It kind of suggests that the values driving the field are not simply these abstract concepts,
Right.
but are actively shaped by the forces of power and influence in the real world.
Precisely. And this brings us to our final value, novelty.
Okay.
In machine learning, it often translates to a pursuit of new algorithms, techniques, or approaches.
Okay. But innovation is generally considered a good thing, so what's the potential downside here?
Well, the issue is that novelty in ML, it often prioritizes technical novelty over, societal relevance or practical application. A lot of the papers in this study were really focused on pushing the boundaries of what's technically possible
Uh-huh.
rather than, addressing real-world problems or even considering the potential impact of their work.
So it's like building a faster race car, but not really thinking about where it's going or who might be affected by its speed.
That's a great analogy. This emphasis on novelty, combined with all the other values we've been talking about, can create kind of a disconnect between the world of ML research and the real-world implications of AI.
Yeah, it sounds like we need to find a better balance
Yeah.
between pushing the boundaries of what's technically possible and making sure that those advancements are guided by a sense of purpose and responsibility.
Yeah, I agree. It's not about abandoning the pursuit of novelty,
Right.
but about ensuring that it's grounded in a broader understanding of the potential consequences and guided by a set of values that prioritize, human well-being and societal benefit. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a crucial point, and it leads to a bigger question. If these 6 values are so deeply ingrained in machine learning research, how do we shift the focus to a more balanced and responsible approach?
That's the million-dollar question, and one we'll definitely explore further in the final part of this deep dive.
So we're back, and we've spent this deep dive unpacking these 6 values driving machine learning research: performance, generalization, building on past work, quantitative evidence, efficiency, and novelty. We've talked about how they can have unintended consequences if we're not careful. So where do we go from here?
Well, the paper doesn't just point out these values.
Right.
It challenges us to consider if maybe, just maybe, they're actually holding the field back.
Holding it back. From what?
Well, from reaching its full potential, right?
Okay, that's a bold statement. What do you mean by that?
So imagine if, let's say, for example, the focus was solely on building the fastest car.
Okay.
You might end up with this amazing machine, but is it really useful,
Right.
if it doesn't have any safety features or can't navigate like certain terrains?
Right.
And similarly, a focus just on values like performance or efficiency in AI
Yeah.
might lead to overlooking other crucial aspects of AI development.
So what you're saying is these values, while important, can become limiting if they dominate the research agenda.
It's as that.
Like they overshadow other potentially valuable areas of exploration.
That's the argument the paper puts forward.
Okay, I see.
What if, alongside these 6 values, we prioritize things like fairness, transparency,
Right.
accountability, even human well-being?
It makes me wonder if maybe our current definition of success in AI is just like way too narrow.
Yeah.
What if instead of just measuring performance on benchmarks, we also evaluated the impact on society, on individual lives, even the environment?
It's a real shift in perspective, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Looking beyond just those technical achievements and considering the broader consequences,
Yeah.
It's not about abandoning those core values entirely, but incorporating a much wider range of goals.
Yeah, I'm picturing like a future where AI development, it isn't just about building, the most impressive algorithms.
Yeah.
It's about building systems that are beneficial,
Hmm.
equitable, that truly serve humanity.
That's the exciting possibility, that this paper
Yeah.
points towards. But to achieve that vision, we need a collective shift in mindset,
Right.
a conscious effort to broaden our perspective and really redefine what we truly value in AI.
This deep dive has honestly given me so much to think about. Like, you've handed me a new lens
Yeah.
to view the world of AI, one that reveals those often hidden values
Yeah.
driving its development.
And it's not just for researchers.
Right.
AI is increasingly a part of our lives. It's crucial for all of us to be aware of these underlying values.
So next time I hear about some new AI breakthrough, I should ask myself, like, what values drove this innovation?
Exactly.
Maybe even who benefits from this technology? And then on the other side of that, who might be left behind?
100%. By understanding the values shaping AI, we can all start to ask those more critical questions, challenge assumptions, and demand more from the people building these incredibly powerful technologies.
Yeah, because ultimately the future of AI isn't like set in stone, is it?
No.
It's a future that we actively shape through the choices we make, the values we prioritize, and the questions we're brave enough to ask.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive. It's been great exploring all this with you.
It really has. And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this journey into the heart of machine learning. Until next time, stay curious.